Ondo State High Court sitting in Akure, the Ondo State capital, has sentenced 3 persons to death for killing Funke Olakunrin, daughter of Reuben Fasoranti, a leader of Afenifere, the Yoruba social political group. Olakunrin, who was 58 years old, was heading for Lagos from Akure when suspected kidnappers targeted her vehicle in July 2019. In an attempt to escape, the attackers fired at her and she died while being taken to hospital. But Mohammed Husman, Mazaje Lawal, Adamu, and Awalu Abubakar were arraigned on 8 counts bordering on conspiracy, kidnapping, murder, armed robbery, unlawful possession of firearms, and aiding and abetting. However, only the first 3 defendants were convicted and sentenced to death. The 4th defendant was freed because the prosecution failed to prove the case against him.
And there are questions about the Nigerian government's ability to ensure safety and security in the country after it linked the deadly attack on a church in Owo, Ondo State to the militant group ISWAP. At least 40 people were killed in the attack and dozens more wounded. ISWAP hasn't taken responsibility for the attack, but if confirmed, it would be the first attack by the ISIS-linked militants in southern Nigeria, signifying the expansion of its violence. The group mainly operates in the north of the country. Well, let's bring in security expert and CEO of security firm Beacon Consulting, Dr. Kabiru Adamu, now for a chat on Nigeria's state of insecurity. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight tonight. Well, pretty disturbing, if you ask me, going by the statement from Rauf Emaragbeshola yesterday. I wouldn't say, what he presented was, say, factual. I think it's more of a speculation, correct me if I'm wrong, that this attack was carried out by ISIS. My question is, how did they arrive at that conclusion? And going by the way this terrorist attack in the past, they're always very quick to lay claim to their heinous crimes. What do you make of that statement, really?
Well, with regards to the particular statement by the Minister of Interior, I think he used the word that there is the signature of ISWAP in that attack, and that their investigation was leading them to conclude that their incident or the attack was by ISWAP. So in other words, they themselves have not reached the conclusion, but that there are facts that may be suggesting that it is ISWAP. Now, from our own side, like you indicated in your introduction, I run a consultancy, and for the past 3 to 4 months, we have been monitoring a trend that indicated the expansion of the field of operations of the Islamic State in West Africa province, that is ISWAP. Specifically, after February, the group leader at the global level, that's IS leader, was killed by the US. And by March, the group launched a campaign that it called the revenge of the killing of the 2 sheikhs. Now, Nigerian affiliates of IS accepted that campaign. And what we saw was several attacks. You recall that in Taraba State, there were attacks. In Kogi State, there were attacks, as well as in Kaduna State and Katsina too. So clearly suggesting an expansion in the operation. Now the attacks in Kogi are instrumental in the sense that Kogi shares a common border with Ondo State. Now if you look at the proximity of Owo as an example to parts of Kogi State, you would know that it's possible for groups that are operating in Kogi to also foray into Ondo State and carry out such attacks. Even though it's very possible that there are other groups, such as criminal groups, that would bear this cover of ISWAP and carry out such attacks. So that may explain the reason why there is a delay in taking responsibility by the parent body called ISWAP. But then I think it's also important to mention that just like the federal government said, these are just signature indications. Only a full-blown investigation would be able to tie the group itself or who is behind the particular attack.
Okay, Dr. Adamu, I mean, the Governor Akeredolu, described the federal government's claim as being hasty. I wonder if you agree with him that that was hasty. But I also want you to talk about what this attack says about the level of intelligence gathering and the deployment of such intelligence. If we have an ISWAP that is, domiciled or thought to be domiciled in the north, now expanding, like you've said, to the south, what have we done with intelligence?
So let me start with the first part of your question. With due respect to His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Ondo State, he's a member of the ruling party. He's also the chairman of the State Security Council. Apart from that, he's a member of several security councils. When statements like that come out to us that are not members of those bodies and that do not have the kind of influence that he has, we ask the very key question: what role is he playing as a governor in such circumstances? I can feel his pain, and like every human being, logical thinking human being, that attack is horrid and is condemnable. But what is required at the moment now is to use his influence to ensure that the perpetrators of those attacks are identified, they are arrested, and they are prosecuted. I don't think statements like that are really helpful to the circumstances. Having said that, this attack is a clear failure of intelligence. If our intelligence had been effective, we would have been able to know that such. I told you that I run a commercial intelligence firm. And even as a commercial intelligence firm, I had noticed the expansion of the operations of ISWAP. And that means, as an example, we would have been able to put in place preventive measures. Put a protractor, a common, 200 naira protractor in Kogi State and draw a circle around Kaba, where we've been seeing series of bombings by ISWAP, and see the locations that will come into that cycle, including locations in Ondo State. So that's the kind of forward-looking and proactive approach that I expect from our both intelligence organization as well as security organizations, so that soft targets within those cycles would now be contacted, and then they will be taught how to improve their security. And I'm hoping that this would be a lesson for us. I hate to say, as an intelligence expert, this is not the end of the story. If we do not change the current way that we're approaching both intelligence as well as security, more attacks of this nature, unfortunately, are likely to occur.
Well, Dr. Adamu, talking about changing the way we approach these issues, you just talked about the fact, you're a bit uncomfortable with the statement made by the governor in terms of saying that the federal government was a bit hasty with that comment they made. But then 72 hours after terrorists attacked Owo, there was another attack, of course, in the state, this time the Sabo area, and 6 people were killed. And then the police were quick to say it was just a robbery, almost seeming like, we should be grateful for the lesser evil that occurred. So I think that's where that's coming from, really. How come they're always quick to say it's either a robbery, or by putting it on ISWAP, it makes it look somewhat distant? I'm not the expert here, but I'm saying, is there really much difference from what happened in Owo and what Boko Haram had done over the years, clearing out villages? What is your take on this?
There's no difference. Life is life. At the moment we lose the life of any Nigerian or any person that is within the territorial area called Nigeria, we should be bothered. Now, in this instance, 6 persons were killed, irrespective of whether it was robbery or an inter-ethnic clash that led to their death, or they were targeted because of their affiliation to an ethnic group or to a religion. It is condemnable. And as a leader or as a government, we should condemn it wholeheartedly. Now, in this instance, what I see happening is the government trying to dissuade any effort to stoke the embers of ethnic or religious violence. So when the government is quick to make such statements, that's perhaps what it's trying to do. But let's look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that people are dying across Nigeria. And whether those lives are Muslims' lives or Christian lives or Edo lives or Yoruba lives or Hausa lives or Fulani lives, they are lives. And I think as a country, we should speak up as one and to condemn any killing, whether that killing is to the left or to the right, or it's a Muslim or it's a Christian. That's where I stand.
Yeah, you talked about improving our intelligence, and I suppose you were speaking to the part of government, the responsibility of government. But what should we be doing as a country, as a people? Religious houses are no longer safe. They used to be so distant for those in the south. In the north, we hear them a lot in the north. But now we have a church in the southern region being attacked. What should we be doing?
I will respond at 3 levels. The level of government, and when I say government, I am referring to the federal government, the state government, and well, the now almost non-existent local government, as well as the role of the executive arm, the legislative arm, and the judiciary. We need to hold our security agencies responsible for, and they should be accountable. The incident of in Ondo State, the Owo Church attack, happened on the 5th of June. Today we're on the 10th of June. I'm not aware that any investigation is being conducted to find out the lapses within the security arrangement that led to that attack. Or it's not a village, it's a major town. There should have been adequate security deployment in that town. Now, clearly, the fact that that attack happened, the fact that the attackers were able to escape almost unhindered, means somebody dropped the ball. And so the first thing that government at the various levels that I've mentioned need to do is to introduce accountability within our security architecture. And I'm hoping that as we go into the 2023 elections, this is what the presidential candidates will be telling us. How are they going to enhance accountability within the security sector? Now, the next level is the level of us, Nigerians, the media, ordinary Nigerians like myself and others. How do we contribute to security? How do we ensure that, well, we enhance our capacity to prevent such incidents? The attackers were not ghosts. They came into that town, and I can bet you from what I know, I've been studying security for almost 30 years, they conducted surveillance. They attempted to test the integrity of the security arrangement within that church. If somebody had done his job, that person would have noticed them when they were doing that surveillance. So that's what I'm trying to call on all Nigerians. Let's be more vigilant around our environment. Yes, we're not happy about the fact that the government could have done better, but we ourselves can also improve on our ability to be observant, as well as our ability to respond to such things. Security can be implemented in 3 layers, and I'll quickly mention them. You can detect, you can deny, you can delay, and then you can respond. So all churches, all religious places of worship, all soft targets should seek to put in place security measures along these 4 layers that I mentioned. Now, the last layer would depend on the government. You can't respond if you don't have a weapon. Nobody beyond the government has the license to own weapons. So that is where the government would also need to come to our aid. And lastly, I would also recommend that every person listening to this should download an app called Citizens 8. The app, you have 2 versions of that app, the American version and the UK version. In that app, you would see how to respond to distress situation. What happened in Owo is called a complex attack. It's an attack that involves about two or three methods of attack. So they used a bomb, they used gunshots and all that. So Citizens 8 will teach you what to do if you are in a situation where a bomb goes off. It will also teach you what to do if you are in a situation where there is an active gun shooter in a situation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adamu. I almost chuckled when you said you were also an ordinary Nigerian with all the intelligence at your beck and call. Security consultant and CEO, security firm Beacon Consultant, Dr. Kabiru Adamu. Thank you so much.